Hello YouTube, welcome to today's video. Today's video is going to be about a day of photography at the Washington State Fair, specifically using, because I'm in a Sigma kick these days, 3 Sigma zoom lenses. So I'm going to be using the Sigma 17 to 300 millimeter f3.5 to 6.7 contemporary. I'm going to be using the Sigma 10 to 18 millimeter f2.8 contemporary, and I'm also going to be using the Sigma 17 to 40 f1.8 art lens. So those 3 lenses are going to be what I'm going to use today. So let me tell you a little bit about what the video is going to be, and then we'll get into some photos and talk about that. As always, if you have questions about the lenses or my experience, or if you want to add personal experiences you have with these lenses, please let me know in the comments below. Thank you. So what I'm going to do is basically go through the day pretty much in sequence, and then I'll group some photos by theme and subject and conversation topics we might have. We'll start, and the lens we're going to talk about the most is the 17 to 300 because that's the lens I use the most. This will be the first time I've really taken it out and used it just primarily as a what can this lens do for me today kind of thing. I was at the fair from about 11:30 to 9:15, so right around 10 hours. My feet are sore. I did a lot of walking, but it was a really good time. It was part of a photo meetup we were having at Kenmore Camera. Got to meet some neat people and make some new friends, so that was fun too. All right, so let's talk about my experience and why I wanted to use the 17 to 300 millimeter. I'm a big fan of zoom lenses, as you know if you've been around here for a few minutes, and I especially like a lens that does a lot of things and lets me stay in the moment of the composition when I notice it and not have to change lenses to and then possibly miss the moment. So obviously there's compromises with a lens like the 16 to 300. I get all the numbers mixed up here, apologies. In that you're going to give up, obviously the first thing is light gathering. At 300 millimeters, this is a 6.7. At 16 millimeters, it's f3.5. So you need some light. I use this during the day, and then I transition to the other 2 when it got dark. But I'll show you why I like this lens, and also discuss a couple things, not quite sure, and I need some further testing on. So let's get started with some of the images. We'll talk through them, and we'll go from there. So we'll start with a couple photos of the folks working the barbecue pit, and again, this is why one of the reasons I love a lens that does a lot of different focal lengths. I can notice a scene from far-ish away, and at 172 millimeters, as this photo is, still create a photo and not have to wait to get closer, and then potentially the moment goes away. In this photo, I really like, I didn't quite see it when I was making the photo, but I like the hat that's hanging on the wall that mimics the hat he's wearing. A nice accident, I'll take it. Next photo, another gentleman working at the barbecue pit. He's talking to Gabe, one of the folks I met as part of the photo meetup. And so he's engaged with him. And again, 172 millimeters. I don't have to be part of the scene, but I can create a photo. Also like that you get some nice background compression with this. Autofocus works really well in these situations. I like the framing. These are all my edits in Lightroom Classic. They start with I apply the simulation in Lightroom Classic of Classic Chrome and then go from there. So those are my edits. So we're going to see a couple photos here in a short sequence of this young lady from 4-H who's grooming her goat. And what's cool, what we both noticed, Gabe and I, was that her hair matches the coloring on the fur on the head of the goat. And also, as I was editing these photos, I noticed the clip on her hair kind of matches the shape of the horn. So there's a lot of neat, I think, connection between her and the goat, which was really kind of fun. I don't love this composition. It's a little documentary for me, and there's a lot of distractions in the background, but it's kind of what it looks like there. So sometimes I have to get over my artistic self. So there's that photo. And then later on at her award ceremony, turns out she won the first prize. And this is her as they're talking about her goat and the prize that she won. So here I could be at 300 millimeters. Again, I don't have to be part of the scene, but I can create a photo, simplify things, photograph between the two rails of the fence that's around the arena she's in, and kind of keep it simple and focused on her. So that's one of the things I really like about this lens is it's so flexible. So for this photo, I saw this dad walking with a kid on his shoulder and the daughter with the bubble machine, and she's trying to grab the bubble machine. And it was just a neat moment. Again, I don't have to be close to this, and I can still make a photo. Again, also the longer lens at 230 plus millimeters gets separation from the background that if I was closer, they would all be in focus. So the background's a little out of focus. Speaking of background, I'd like your opinion. So on the left in the photo, in camera left, there's a lady walking with sunglasses into the scene. And on camera right is part of a gentleman, I think it's a gentleman, I don't know. Somebody's arm is partially in the right-hand side of the frame. So I made a creative decision, and using content aware remove in Lightroom, I got rid of them. What do you think? First, I think it's pretty amazing how good a job Lightroom does at this. And secondly, for me in this photo is about this little family group here and their moment, not the other people in the scene. One of the ways I approach photo edits is I want to create the photo that I saw in my mind, not necessarily what was 100% accurately there. That's an artistic decision, a creative decision. It may work for you, it may not, but that's the way I approach it. So this sequence is part of just noticing some little details of people connections, and this couple was walking around holding hands, and I like how they have matchy jeans, and their hands kind of look like they're the same person in some ways. I think that happens to couples over time. You become like each other. I know Debbie and I have too. So anyway, just a neat little moment. Nothing fancy here, just taking my time a little bit in the composition and a couple clicks. And I love mirrorless cameras for this where they don't make any noise. One of the performers, the corn cob on the unicycle guy going, I don't know if he's taking a break or what, but I like the light, the way it was shining here. And this is one of those things I caught out of the corner of my eye. Again, this lens with some flexibility of the zoom, I can create a photo without having to change the lens to get closer or farther when there's just a really short amount of time to create the photo. I did something new this time at the fair, something I've never done before, which was to ask people for their portrait, if I can make a photo of them. So the first ones I asked this of were these two in one of the Pizza by the Slice places. And this year they're wearing t-shirts, as you can see, with pepperoni pizza, cheese pizzas, on photorealistic versions of that on their shirts. And I just thought, oh, that's kind of cool. So first I asked the gentleman on the left if I could create his photo, and the lady on the right, she was over farther in the other part of the shop. And she said, what about me? And I said, come on in. And so they were fun to pose for this. And that's, yeah, kind of fun to make a little personal connection, briefly even, in a crowd of a bunch of people. So I noticed this worker here, she was sitting in a booth where you can win prizes, and one of the prizes you can win is this big pink stuffed animal, and as you can see, her hair matches that color pretty closely, and I thought, oh my gosh, that's really cool. So I asked her, do you mind if I create a photo? And she said, sure, and she put her sunglasses on and got her hair just so, and we made a couple photos, and this is my favorite of the batch. So again, another neat little moment, a time to connect with people and not get beyond just the transaction of consumer and worker. So that feels good to me. I really enjoyed that. So this sequence of photos I made of some the folks going down this big slide, and this is where I'm going to talk a little bit about one of the things, places of concern I have where the performance of the 16-300 wasn't quite what I hoped, and that's autofocus of moving things. I have a whole bunch of photos I had to delete just because the tracking either didn't work. It could be user error. I always forget to switch to wide tracking mode in the camera. And just leave it on autofocus continuous with subject detection, which it needs, yeah, anyway. So this photo turned out sharp, which I like, so focused on the faces. So it's a little bit earlier in the valley, the hills and valleys of this ride. When you get to a later part of the ride, then it starts to struggle with autofocus. So you can see it's focused behind this kid. Why is he carrying his phone, by the way? Why is he carrying his phone? put your phone down. It'll last for a minute, or give it to somebody else. Anyway, old man yells at clouds. But I like this moment, like his face, but he's just not quite in focus. Same thing here. This guy's even worse. He's talking on his phone while he's going down the slide and got one half hand kind of up in the air. But okay, social commentary here. I don't know if he's fully engaged either in the phone conversation or the ride. He's probably in between both places and not committed to either one. That's my commentary. Anyway, not as sharp as I want. I need to do some testing with this compared to the Fujifilm 70-300 and the 16-80. If I can find some repeatable way to test this and see if it's the lens, if it's my settings in camera, or if it's just the nature of Fujifilm autofocus, or portions of all the above. So stay tuned on that. And then next, I want to show you two photos of the same scene, and this is why I love the 16-300. Its versatility. So this is at 16 millimeters. Nice little documentary photo of this, one of the attractions where you can win a stuffed animal. And then if you go abstract at 300 millimeters, you get just the bottles, and it becomes just patterns, repetition, minimal, which is something I love to do. I like the ability to do both of these things without really moving my feet, changing lenses, being clumsy me and potentially dropping the lens. I've done that before. So anyway, like that quite a bit for this lens. Also lets me do stuff like this. Again, isolate vignette within a pond full of rubber ducks. I can get just a couple of them and suggest the scene without the chaos. So create some quiet out of noise with by having a tighter composition. Next, we'll move to the night stuff after dark here. And the next two photos are going to be with the 10-18 millimeter on a tripod. Obviously, we're at 22nd exposure here. I do have an 8-stop neutral density filter as well. It's fun to do this. It's also a little frustrating at times because you got to get both. When there's multiple elements in the photo, if they're not both moving, it doesn't look quite as good. So it's also quite addicting, I found. I was like, oh, just one more. After every photo, just one more, just one more. So I spent probably a half hour trying to find the best of this that I like the most. And so I started here, and then I moved closer to the ride on the left, the one with the red light, and low and close to that. And this is my favorite of that bat. Let's move to now the 17-40 millimeter, which is a lens I really, really love. The more I use it, the more I really like it. It's got just such lovely rendering. I do have on these night photos, you're going to see a white mist filter. It's a quarter strength, which in hindsight is too strong. It's a little much for me. So going forward, I'll use the eighth that I have, the 1/8 strength white mist filter. So, you know, already won a prize, maybe gonna win another prize here. A quiet moment of contemplation of next steps. So neat little scene. This is probably my favorite photo from the fair. Gabe and I were doing some long exposure stuff right around where this gentleman was standing. And he was there for 20-30 minutes, didn't move. And as we were walking back a different direction, I noticed the tail hanging off his keychain. So I stopped quick and made a quick little photo. And then I also noticed when I was editing, he had a fork and spoon in his back pocket. So always be prepared. You never know. And then the last few photos I'm going to show from the 17-40 are just some blurry balls of light, because I just like doing that at the fair. I have collections of these photos. I have a bokeh folder, just because you never know when you need textures, background, lights. So just a couple photos of that to finish this off. So that's my day at the fair, which I had a lot of fun. And these lenses were great. They're not super huge. They weren't super heavy to carry around. And it was nice to have all this flexibility and versatility. And I really like the image quality for the most part in these lenses. Though the 17-300 does quite a bit of vignetting if you have a blue sky. So, but I don't care in a lot of ways, but it's there. If you have any questions about these lenses you'd like to ask, please let me know in the comments below. So we'll wrap things up here. Thanks so much for watching. Again, if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, please let me know in the comments below. I look forward to seeing you in a future video. I have plans to go do some street photography, which it seems like it's been forever, where I wasn't testing a lens to do street photography. So I plan to go do that just for fun, and then I'll share with you. So stay tuned for that. So until I see you in a future video, I hope you stay safe, Stay well and have fun creating photos. Bye for now.